Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are going back to Pokemon Legends Arceus. Why are we doing that? Pokemon Legends just got a new entry announced, which I am so stoked about, and I'll get into why in a moment. But we have Pokemon Legends ZA on the way, 2025. And I think that's going to be a Switch 2 game, which makes me even more excited because as we talk about the visuals for Pokemon Legends Arceus, I'm hoping it looks a little better this time around. That would be swell, but nonetheless, extremely stoked for this game. So there's no better time to break out Pokemon Legends Arceus than right now. And more than anything, this game is special to this channel, and if anything in a modern release makes me nostalgic, it is Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I know some of you are going to raise an eyebrow at. What? It's a recent game. How are you already nostalgic for it? Some games do just have that effect on you, Trails in the Sky being one of those where I beat that only a couple of years ago, and anytime I think back onto it, I just long for that first playthrough, the beginning of that journey once more. It's such a special feeling. With Pokemon Legends Arceus, though, it has a deep connection to this channel. When we first started things off toward the end of 2021, Retro Rebound really didn't know what it was going to be other than nostalgia with a blend of modernism, which has always been the slogan for this channel, as you'll see on the banner on the channel page. But what that ended up being was sort of up to you and what you enjoyed, but also what we enjoyed, which ended up being a mixture of celebrating games with retrospectives. So kind of what we did with Final Fantasy VII. You had Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's review, but also the retrospectives of Remake, as well as OG Final Fantasy VII. To me, that is the perfect blend in what I've always sought to do on this platform. Just celebrate games. But we didn't know reviews would actually work here at all until we tried it with one game, and that was Pokemon Legends Arceus. So anytime I think about this game, I have that beautiful Jubilife Village theme stuck in my head, and then I think about the growing days of Retro Rebound. We're still growing, but we know what we are now. And that was at a time where we were still finding our identity. We were starting to do the Remembering series, which is a major staple of this channel that you come to know and expect. We really started to figure that out with the Batman games, which we did that following month. This was our first ever review, and so it was kind of a scary moment of, are people gonna reject this because we have Retro Rebound as a title for the channel? And you all were so warm and kind and positive, which is what this community's always been about. So I know that's a long tangent to open the video, but truly, I love this game, and I'm very nostalgic for its release because it does bring me back to that time where I felt a sense of community growing here on Retro Rebound, of people who just want to celebrate games. So I'm thankful to you, and I am thankful to this game for putting us on the path of doing some occasional reviews on the channel. All right, I've said enough nice things about you. Let's talk about the game, shall we? Why should you be excited for Pokemon Legends ZA, especially after what we saw with Scarvi? That was a really dodgy time there for the Pokemon series. It answered so many questions, like true Pokemon open world, but visually and performance-wise, oh my lord, what happened to Scarlet and Violet, I know is a big question. Pokemon Legends Arceus, though, really answered a lot of longtime fans' biggest issues with the series. That being the lack of evolution in the gameplay formula. I don't have to spell it out to you. Pokemon has always been really simplistic turn-based battles, walking around, random encounters, catch a Pokemon, fight the gym leader, fight the Elite Four, maybe fight some random team they made up for that entry, and call it a day. The formula's been there and has been unchanging for a long while. And it's something that here on this channel we've talked a lot about, as we've more so focused on spin-off Pokemon titles rather than mainline titles, which I know isn't what the algorithm wants, but we like to talk about things like Pokemon Conquest and Pokemon Stadium. These are games that I think should be celebrated more because it was when Pokemon was at its strongest, embracing new ideas. Pokemon Legends Arceus reminds me of when Pokemon was embracing new ideas that were still true to the core formula, but putting smart, fun twists on them. So is Legends Arceus true open world like Scarlet and Violet is? No, it's more like open zone, akin to Monster Hunter. Is Pokemon Legends Arceus your simple turn-based battles? Again, yes, but are there a ton of quality of life improvements? Absolutely. They've added strong and agile styles, which I sorely missed in Scarlet and Violet, because guess what you can do is see the turn order in Legends Arceus. And so when you're manipulating between agile and strong style, you can see when you're gonna go in the turn order. Why does that matter? It's not just visibility, it's about status effects, buffs, debuffs, these things that I previously did not engage with in Pokemon because I never enjoyed playing competitively, I never had an interest in it. Now, these feel like legitimate game-changing moves. Oh, if I use Agile Style and this debuff here, I won't decrease the defense as much, but I'll do a little bit, and then I'll go in for a strong style attack. It just felt like the layers and tactics here were so much better. Plus, it was seamless. It all just happened there in the open zone. There was no loading in, no flashing of the screen, and then a battle transition happens. It just happened. These are a number of quality of life improvements that still sound very Pokemon to you. You still target weaknesses, but just little layers on top. And that's where Pokemon, in my opinion, had struggled the most, is just taking a core gameplay formula that I understand has to be kid-friendly, but you definitely can layer a little bit of complexity on top of, which I think Legends Arceus did marvelously. All it did was taking speeding up and slowing down the turn order for strength or speed. That's all it really is, but it pays off immensely. And so it turns out Legends Arceus solves a lot of people's gameplay woes with the series, not just in combat, but in the focus of monster catching. You see, in Pokemon, I never had the clearing the Pokédex fever that so many people had in the past. In fact, you can go ahead and put this on record. I don't think I've ever filled out an entire Pokédex in my entire lifetime. Maybe as a kid with Pokemon Blue, I was obsessed with that game and played it a ton, but don't quote me on it. I don't think I've ever filled out a Pokédex, but that's because I never really enjoyed the monster catching gameplay loop. First off, it was random encounter based. That alone just dissuaded me from wanting to engage. Then when you finally find the creature, weakening them, putting them to sleep, poisoning them, having the right balls, making sure that you didn't run out of a particular ball type, all that stuff. I know many people enjoy that metagame. I never really did. So Legends Arceus evolves it. You're not looking for random encounters. You are just a person running around this lawless world and exploring the new horizon, finding all these Pokemon and catching them for research, and many of them at that, because as you catch more Pokemon or knock out more Pokemon or catch Pokemon of different colors or see them in different habitats, you're gonna fill up a research log that's gonna go toward ranking you up in the Survey Corps. It has a phenomenal loop that's very Pokemon, but works very well and pulls people like me in who aren't necessarily big fans of the monster catching part of the series, which I know is criminal to say. And before we go any further, what I want to do actually is, yes indeed, really, as I knock over my action figure, a brief complete in-box experience for Pokemon Legends Arceus. I know it's a modern Switch game, there's no slips, no manual, but it has some cool stuff on the inside that I did want to show off, like the reverse cover art. So just look, I love the game a lot. We didn't get to do a complete in-box experience of like the original release. Just humor me here. I just want to do this. All right, let's just cut to it. All right, here we go. Beautiful cover art to start things off. I think because of the outfits of the two trainers, it just reminds me a ton of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you know, that kind of handkerchief appearance with the Pokemon here. I absolutely love this one though. And then you have the back of the box, which says, action meets RPG in a new kind of Pokemon adventure. It mentions that you can research Pokemon for the Hisui region's first Pokedex, that you can catch Pokemon using your battle skills or stealth and wits, and down here it says answer the call of Arceus, said to be the creator of this world. On the inside, naturally, it's a modern Switch game. No sort of manual, but you get a cool reverse cover art here showing the world, and this is actually the world map that you're going to see whenever you go to travel to a new region as you're playing the game. And of course you have the beautiful little cartridge here. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a very quick complete box section of Pokemon Legends Arceus. To me, just filling out the Pokedex and getting a reward at the end of it all wasn't enough. What I like about Pokemon Legends Arceus is the gradual incremental rewards that you get over time for filling out various parts of your Pokedex, or dedicating a lot of research into one particular Pokemon. Like there's times I've just gone into zones in Pokemon Legends Arceus and obsessed over one Pokemon, doing every little sub challenge and getting all the research done. It definitely speaks to my sensibilities of a little bit of completionist, a little bit of role playing, and definitely a lot of changes to the core formula that make it more interesting. In fact, it's so much more interesting that when I played Scarlet and Violet, it's another element from this series I felt was sorely missing, where I think you could argue in a single entry, Legends Arceus just surpassed my love of the mainline series because it had so much of the mainline series vibes, but the way they interacted with tired mechanics just made it way better. Now, while I quickly became nostalgic for Legends Arceus, one thing that I will say makes it look and feel old are its graphics. And I said this, I listened back to my original review of this game. And yeah, this game is aged like milk. I said in my original review that when you fire up Pokemon Legends Arceus and you play it in handheld, not bad. When you dock it, good lord. When you dock it in 2024, God help your soul, prepare your eyeballs. I don't know if the YouTube video will do it justice. For me, when I fired it up, my reaction was this. I said it out loud to myself at the TV that's right across the room from here. I went, wow, this looks worse than I actually remember. And that's pretty tough to do with a game that just came out a couple of years ago. Now, granted, I'm a little spoiled by some of the recent console releases. I've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. Tekken 8 is like the best looking game I've ever played. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as you saw with the review. That's another absolutely jaw-dropping, beautiful game. So yeah, little spoiled by modern visuals, I won't lie, but you know me. You know my taste on this channel. I am not Mr. Fidelity here. If your game is fun to play, which Legends Arceus is, your graphics are not going to ruin my good time. And not that that's what happened here, but there were a lot more moments I went, this just looks way too rough. If you were an indie developer who was trying to make your own Pokemon clone, you had all these ideas and people really gravitated towards them, great. I'm looking at you, Pal World. Like, yeah, you weren't that impressive on really any level, but you had new ideas, right? And then I look at Pokemon Legends Arceus and I go, oh, you do have the IP. The highest grossing IP on planet Earth, might I add. Okay, so we need to start spending some budget, expanding the power of this system, and getting something going here, because I don't think it's acceptable for Pokemon to be in this technical state. It doesn't have to look perfect, but it needs to look better than what's here on display and what's running when it comes to Scarlet and Violet, and that much remains extremely true to this day. As I've grown older with the Pokemon series and my kind of, if you will, love-hate relationship with it, the series has really transcended childhood experience and gone into vibe for me. So what I mean by that is Pokemon games have a particular vibe to them. One reason I really enjoyed playing Pokemon Black when I played it for the first time just last year, funny timing that, by the way, given the setting of Pokemon ZA, I did not plan that out, but that's kind of been the luck of Retro Rebound. Sometimes we just have videos ready at the right time and they're evergreen, so you can watch them whenever you want. But when I played that, the music and the story and the sprite work, it was kind of like the last of its kind. And so there was a special vibe to it, a special feel to it. Pokemon Stadium is my personal favorite of the older entries because it has a feel to it of really punching above its weight on a technical level. The 3D models on an N64 alone, crazy, plus all of the audio packed in and unique audio lines at that, absolutely insane wizardry on display. Like literally one of the most technically impressive games of our time, in my opinion. So each one has a feel, a vibe, a level of it that's impressive. For Pokemon Legends Arceus, it's a coziness. That is the vibe here, because it's very primitive in its appearance. And that's one thing that the very flat visual style lends itself well to. Yes, this is a game that doesn't look impressive at all, but if it was trying to pop out with like really dense foliage and trying to fill things out with like villages and whatnot all over the place, it would be arguably way worse. Because it's so primitive in that you have just Jubilife Village and then you go out beyond to these other zones that Pokemon are inhabiting, I think it works a little better in that way, where there's this cozy vibe where after you're done exploring a zone, you come back to Jubilife Village. When that theme hits, and I'm gonna shout out Locke in this video, please put it in the background of this video, bro. That theme, it just immediately soothes my soul. It's like I could hang out in this village forever. I don't want to leave. It's here. You can change your appearance. As a Demon Slayer fan, naturally, I try to make my character look like Tanjiro, and then I gave him the Levi Ackerman cut. You can go to shops, buy new items. You can accept requests to fill out specific Pokedex entries to help out with things in the village and expand its capabilities. You can talk to a dude who will expand the space you have in your satchel, which is extremely important. And then it's back out to these zones again. What are you doing in these zones? I already talked about monster catching. You're also going to be farming a ton of resources. I usually don't get that I must find every material in this open world type itch to scratch. I think the reason this game does it so well is because it's so well designed, as I've already gone on about. And so just going along, tossing out my scissor real quick, having him hack at an iron rock and getting some iron chunks that I can use to then craft Pokeballs and use those crafted Pokeballs to turn them into like great balls, and then use those great balls to capture more Pokemon in a particular zone that I missed out on. I love that. I also love the sense of danger. There are these alpha level Pokemon that you'll find from time to time. I got surprised by one and absolutely whooped afterwards. And that's great because you're using items more. You're healing your Pokemon more. You're trying to buff them more. And because that world is dangerous, you now need money more. So you're gonna go and try to farm these Pokemon, finish these Pokedex entries, turn in those results, get money back, and then get new equipment. It just, again, has such a sound loop that the little simple collectathon, monster catching, and fighting monsters, all these simple layers, this is what I feel like I've been saying for years, and it feels like I was finally heard with this entry. It didn't take a complete overhauling of Pokemon to get it to a right place. Legends Arceus, to me, is the future. And that's why I was so excited to see a new entry added in here, because it's like, yes, now we're gonna evolve this more. I thought it was great at first, and this is the gameplay style I have fallen in love with. I remember going to the midnight release for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and I see a lot of people my age. For me, I was there because I honestly just wanted to see what the newest Pokemon game was about, but also I knew there was always the potential of content, so I figured, why not go and pick it up? And once I started to see how disastrous it may have been technically, that's when I leapt to action. Now, I say all that because I don't mean to sound like a weirdo lurker, but you look around at the midnight launch and you see the people who are there, and many of them are more so people my age and not kids. And I always wondered myself, I'm like, do they just connect with this on a childhood level, or do they love the gameplay? And I see them sharing like shinies, and I feel like they're more hardcore in the loop. So I always felt like an outsider when it came to Pokemon stuff, but with Legends Arceus, I feel like I understand those people more. Like, I want to go and get the shinies. When you fall through this rift in the sky, and then sometimes rifts open up and they have massive amounts of unique creatures just dropping out of them that you can catch and fill out. Like, I have an Umbreon now, which is so exciting. Like, I didn't have an Umbreon before, but now I got him with ease because I was just right place, right time, and that was exciting. And seeing shinies there, that's exciting. And you're just like, wait, this is a gold mine here. Like, I gotta fill out the Pokedex, catch all these, and there's so many Pokemon spawning, you're getting into fights constantly. Like, that excitement, I go, I finally get it now. And that's the wonderful thing that this game does, is it brings people like me in, who are kind of on the outside of the fence, into the other side and joining with the Pokemon community once more. So yeah, Pokemon Legends Arceus is a special game in my opinion. It really, really is. And again, I always think of this channel when I think of this game. And no doubt, we'll be talking about this game probably at least once more before the launch of Pokemon Legends ZA. And we'll definitely be reviewing Legends ZA here on the channel, so you can keep an eye out for that whenever the Switch 2 and all that fun stuff drops. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts down below. So fire away, let me know your thoughts on Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I will catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace